You are 20 years old. You have crossed oceans and time zones, hauled your equipment through airports and terminals, and you have ended up on a clay court at the Nadal Academy in Mallorca, working through your serve in the afternoon heat. No crowd. No ceremony. Just the grinding, unglamorous repetition that players at your level live inside every single day. Then something happens that no one scheduled. A man walks down to your court. Not a coach you booked. Not a consultant who received a call. He simply came down. He watched for a moment. Then he started talking, pointing out the specific mechanics of the exact shot you have been trying to rebuild from the ground up. That man was Rafael Nadal. Not a poster. Not a highlight reel. The actual person. 14 Grand Slam titles. 10 Italian Open championships. The most complete clay court player the sport has ever seen, standing on the same red dirt as a 20-year-old from the Philippines who, 1 year earlier, had lost a first-round match in Rome without taking a single set. That is not a story someone invented. That is what happened to Alex Eala approximately 3 weeks before she flew to Rome for the 2026 Italian Open. And if you want to understand why this particular tournament feels categorically different from every other one she has entered this season, that moment on that court is exactly where the understanding begins. Not a survivor. A builder. Because Alex is not arriving in Rome as someone who has scraped through. She is arriving as someone who has spent 12 months systematically eliminating every reason she once had for why clay wasn't her surface, and building something in its place that should genuinely unsettle the rest of the draw. The layers of this story matter, so let's go through them properly. A year ago, May 7th, 2025, Alex walked onto the clay at the Foro Italico for the first time as a professional. The opponent was Marta Kostyuk. The final score was 6-1, 6-1. 96 minutes. 1 game 1. The kind of result that gets attached to every future conversation about whether a player belongs on a given surface. Kostyuk didn't just win. She exposed something specific. Alex, at that stage, could not slide on clay. She couldn't build the extended baseline rallies the surface demands. She could hit, she could fight, she could compete, but the particular technical language that clay court tennis requires was absent from her vocabulary, and Kostyuk spoke it fluently and charged for every gap. The ranking picture, and why it's misleading, jump forward to March of this year. Alex carries a career-high ranking of 29 in the world. She is not a wild card story anymore. She is a seeded player, a top 30 player, the first Filipino in professional tennis history to reach that position. She comes off a Miami semifinal run that felt like a genuine declaration, not a fluke, not a bracket anomaly. Then the clay season opens, and results get difficult. Stuttgart, first round. Leylah Fernandez, 1-6, 4-6. Madrid, second round. Alina Mertens, 2-6, 1-6. The ranking that had climbed to 29 begins drifting, settling now around 41. And if you glance at those numbers without the surrounding context, the picture looks straightforward. A player struggling on clay, losing by comfortable margins, sliding down the rankings heading into one of the most important red clay events outside of Roland Garros. But here is what the numbers don't tell you. The reason her ranking is falling has almost nothing to do with her current form. It is because she accumulated a significant number of points in Miami last year, and those points have now expired. That is simply how the WTA ranking system functions. You earn points, you defend them a year later, and if the result doesn't match, the points disappear. It is precise, it is merciless, and it has no relationship whatsoever to how well you are currently playing. And here is the specific number that reframes the entire conversation when it comes to Rome. She has 10 ranking points to defend this week. 10. Which means every single match she wins inside the Foro Italico from May 5th forward is pure, unobstructed gain. No ceiling to break through. No anchor pulling against her. She enters with almost nothing on the line and everything available to be built, a position very few players get to occupy at a premier-level event. The coaching situation, which is where this gets remarkable for the 2026 clay swing, Alex and her team made a deliberate decision. They returned to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, and this time, they arranged for her to work directly with Tony Nadal. Not as a visitor to the facility, not as someone observing from the side. as a genuine technical collaboration with the man who guided Rafael Nadal from the earliest stages of his career through all 14 of his Grand Slam titles, including every single one of his 10 Italian Open championships. Read that again slowly. The architect of the most dominant clay court run in the history of professional tennis is now the clay specialist on Alex Eala's coaching team. Tony Nadal has spent decades understanding what winning on red clay at the highest level actually requires. He has studied the geometry of the surface, the physical demands, the mental recalibrations, the way points need to be built differently than they are on hard courts or grass. He has brought all of that accumulated knowledge to bear on a 20-year-old player who is, in many ways, learning the surface from scratch. And then on top of that, on top of Tony, on top of the structured daily sessions, Rafa himself came down to the court. Alex's primary coach, Joan Bosch, the man who has been with her since her junior career, described it in an interview with Tennis Up to Date. Picture what he is actually describing. Nadal came to the court without being asked and offered advice on her serve, the specific shot she has been rebuilding from the foundation. Then he stayed and hit with her. Bosch described the training environment at the academy with one word: NASA. Not a solid training facility. Not a professional setup. NASA. The place where the most technically exacting and consequential work in human history gets done. That is the environment in which Alex has been preparing for 5 weeks of clay court tennis. And if you believe that kind of preparation doesn't produce measurable, visible change on a court, you haven't been watching professional tennis closely enough. Alex herself spoke about it in a way worth sitting with. At the Laureus World Sports Awards in Madrid, she described clay as more physical, more demanding, more gritty than any other surface. The kind of challenge that requires not just different technique, but a genuinely different relationship with the game itself. Taking something from the greatest, there is a quiet certainty in the way she talks about it. She is not expressing hope that clay will eventually click. She is not hedging. She is publicly stating that she is actively extracting knowledge from the greatest clay court player who ever lived and incorporating it into her own game. That is a fundamentally different person from the one who walked onto this same surface a year ago and was taken apart in 90 minutes. Madrid and what it meant beyond tennis. Now let's talk about Madrid, because something happened there that had nothing to do with a racket and everything to do with what Alex represents outside the sport. On April 20th, while most of the tour was either resting or easing into the clay season, Alex walked the red carpet at the Laureus World Sports Awards. And she didn't arrive in a gown from a European fashion house. She wore a custom Filipiniana, the traditional formal dress of the Philippines, crafted from piña fabric, a textile woven from pineapple fiber that holds deep cultural significance in Filipino tradition. Her uncle Raju designed it, and it was shipped from Manila to Madrid in a matter of days, specifically for this night. She had described it beforehand as a dream she'd carried for years, the dream of wearing a Filipiniana on a major international stage. The kind of dream that waits quietly inside you until the moment finally comes and you get to step into it. The WTA posted a photo of her arrival. It drew nearly 78,000 likes and close to 900 comments from the Philippines, from the Filipino diaspora spread across California, Dubai, London, Singapore, and dozens of other places, all responding to the same image with the same feeling. This young woman is doing something that extends well beyond winning tennis matches. She is carrying a culture into rooms that have historically not made space for it. Her career is not built on momentum and narrative alone. It is real, and it is being recognized at the highest tier of global sport. Manny Pacquiao, arguably the most recognizable Filipino athlete in history, said it publicly, in Tagalog, so there would be no ambiguity about who he was addressing. He said he is proud of her because she is Filipino, and he wants many more like her. When Manny Pacquiao is watching your matches and naming you an inspiration for an entire country, you have become something larger than a tennis player. And all of that is walking through the gates of the Foro Italico this week, with 10 ranking points to defend and 3 players in the draw who have defeated her either this season or last year. Kostyuk is there. Fernandez is there. Mertens is there. The same opponents who handed her those losses are back in the building. And that is the test this version of Alex, the NASA version, the Tony Nadal version, the Rafa on the court version, has to pass to make the story complete. The technical evidence Joan Bosch, who is not a hype man and has no incentive to overstate things, was direct in his assessment after Madrid. He acknowledged that clay was where Alex had the most raw, unfinished work to do. And then he said something specific. She is moving much better now. She is sliding, which is not a simple thing to learn when it doesn't come to you naturally. That sentence is the most important technical statement made about her clay game in the past 12 months. The inability to slide, the exact vulnerability Kostyuk exploited in Rome a year ago, is the thing Bosch is now telling the world has been addressed. Not perfected overnight, not magically transformed, but genuinely worked on, rebuilt from the base up, under the most accomplished clay coaching team she has ever had access to. The mathematical picture, the timing of Rome within the broader schedule matters too. Roland Garros opens on May 24th. At the French Open, Alex again has just 10 ranking points to defend. So across the next 5 weeks, 20 total points sit on her ledger from last year, and the entire stretch of draws ahead of her represents open road for ranking gain. A third-round run in Rome is a net positive. A quarter-final pushes her back toward her career high. A semi-final or better, and conversations about the top 25, the top 20, and automatic Grand Slam seeding stop being hypothetical very quickly. What she did in the week before Rome also says something about her mindset. She was scheduled to compete at a WTA 125 event in Catalonia, a warm-up tournament that would have provided additional court time and ranking points. She withdrew. She chose rest, recovery, and focused preparation for the larger stage instead. She didn't retreat to the safer option. She aimed directly at the bigger event and got herself ready. Greg Rosetsky, the former world number 4 who has been among her most consistent public supporters, was candid after the Madrid loss. The scorelines had been a problem, and he said so. After that match, Alex posted a brief message on Instagram, grateful for Madrid. Coming back stronger. No drama. No lengthy explanation. A clean close and a forward look. Then she made the Catalonia decision and pointed everything toward Rome. The full picture, when you see it all together, the story isn't complicated. A 20-year-old Filipino player with the lightest points defense of her entire season this week. Training at a facility her own coach compares to NASA. Working daily with the man who built the most dominant clay court career in tennis history. Receiving direct technical input on her serve from Rafael Nadal himself. Walking the most prestigious sporting red carpet in the world in a Filipiniana gown and stopping the room cold. Carrying 3 specific losses she wants to reverse, and occupying precisely the mathematical position where every win is pure, unobstructed progress. None of this guarantees Rome will be easy. Clay has given Alex nothing for free this season, and the draw is full of players who know exactly how to hurt her. But the gap between the player who arrived here a year ago and the one arriving now is not just a matter of confidence or narrative momentum. It is technical. It is structural. It is the kind of work that happens before anyone is watching.